Oi lads, I's the best. And now, I really is.
Hey guys, Dov Plays here, and today we are taking a look at new and improved GRIMGOR on the battlefield facing off against Bretonnia. We don't have any of the DLC stuff in today, we're just going to be looking purely at the Greenskins rework stuff, and yeah, I talked about GRIMGOR's abilities in my previous video, so you can go ahead and check in on that. He's going to be leading the way with a bunch of goblins. He's got black orcs, a couple trolls, a night goblin shaman, he's got some spider riders, the Death's Creepers, and some wolf rider archers, as well as some pig boys hidden in the woods over here, Durkit Squigs, forest goblin spider riders, and the 8-peak loons, along with, what is that way over there, some more spider riders. This is HDS commanding the Greenskins, Order del Saqueo, Spanish content creator, so you guys, if you want to see this cast in Spanish, I'm sure he'll be putting it up on his channel as well. For myself, for Bretonnia, we've got the Fey Enchantress with a Paladin protecting here in the woods. We've got Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis, 2 Grail Knights, a couple Battle Pilgrims, whole bunch of peasant mobs. Cav Force striking over on this side is the Companions of Cornell and the Knights of the Lionhearted, Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis over on the far side. So, yeah, already this combat going to be getting underway here. We managed to hammer these goblins on the side. The trolls are now going to switch over. I'm going to throw my spearmen into them, but GRIMGOR and these trolls working on my peasants in the main line here. Meanwhile, over on the side, I missed my charge with these Grail Knights. I thought I had a charge order in, but it didn't go off. And over here, these Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis just kind of screen out some of these other cav, but I do end up kind of eating the charge here, which is definitely not great. Try to cast some Shield of Thorns, help keep those Grail Knights alive, pull up these spears for support and kind of countercharge, but it's not doing great. And yeah, I have made a terrible mistake. I brought a damsel just with the Manticore summons for some terror, but I totally did not see GRIMGOR punch through the main line, and he is absolutely gonna whomp this damsel. New and improved GRIMGOR with a nice greener face. Absolutely getting it. And yeah, pops the wah there as well, just to make sure you can see his damage resistance buff active there. And with all of those buffs, yeah, I mean, that damsel would lose horribly anyway, but she's going to be gone, completely shattered. And yeah, GRIMGOR can then turn his attention elsewhere, looking to the other parts of the battlefield, managed to rout off some trolls, coming in for a rear charge here with these companions to try and rout this group, while the Knights Lionhearted sweep over to this flank. Unfortunately, the Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis kind of getting surrounded there, as did one unit of Grail Knights. I mean, we did manage to trade, though. I didn't quite catch the Comet, but a Comet landed here, and we did quite a bit of damage to 2 units of Orc Warboss, so probably not quite an even trade, but the damage on these Durkit Squigs as well, plus the Night Goblins, I mean, it wasn't the worst engagement in the world. Balance of power still very even at this point, but yeah, GRIMGOR absolutely mopping up these Battle Pilgrims. I don't really have that many tools for dealing with GRIMGOR, unfortunately, so I'm just going to kind of have to ignore him until the end if I can. But there's still a lot of Greenskins light cavalry running around harassing these Grail Knights, continuously trying to get away here. They are drawing off a lot of resources, but definitely taking a lot of free damage. It's not great. I've managed to use up a good amount of ammo on those peasant bows, though. Pretty cost effective. Some Shield of Thorns over here as the Spider Riders, Wolf Rider archers pull away. If we zoom in close, you'll see that the Black Orc, oh, he coming. Using his debuff, no doubt, to get the Fey Enchantress here. He can stack that with Gork'll Fix-It, or with Poison, of course, on the Fey Enchantress to keep her more or less immobilized here. So that will be a pretty good combination of abilities there. You can see he uses the Bloodforged armor, try and do a little bit of an explosion to get through, but the Fey Enchantress is able to squeak away there. You can see that Your Next significantly debuffing her speed, 48% speed. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of the goblins have made poison contact. There we go. Now the poison kicks in. You can see her speed severely debuffed, and yeah, GRIMGOR looks like he pulled away instead to go after the Paladin here. Paladin not feeling great about things. At this point, fighting GRIMGOR in melee, even without the melee defense debuff, is just not great. So we're going to run some Battle Pilgrims in here. GRIMGOR and his trolls absolutely trolling this poor Paladin. Another Wah being popped there. Of course, the new Wah mechanic just relies on units being in melee. And I'll try and live cast a game for you guys if I can. But yeah, got companions now coming in for a rear charge. I'm just cutting around with the mobile units, trying to isolate any of the Greenskins, any of Order del Scao's cavalry here. We got a nice pitched cavalry engagement with a bunch of the light cav, the Fanchantress also providing that mortis effect. And yeah, we're going to call down another Comet here as these Grail Knights kind of make their very pitched engagement. Not really a last stand. We've still got a few left, but the Knights of Lionhearted, Knights of the Companions, rather. I guess there's no really Grail Knights left here. But yeah, that Comet comes down, does a ton of damage. We're pretty far behind on the balance of power at this point. But yeah, you can see that Itchy Nuisance and Gork'll Fix It. Gork'll Fix It in particular, one of the few charge bonus debuffs in the game, is so strong against Bretonnia, obviously, since they rely so much on that charge bonus. But since I have mostly a mobility advantage at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get my cavalry away from GRIMGOR as much as possible. And again, just isolate any of these Greenskins cav that we can. And like these Orc Warboss biggins, we're going to get caught out by the few remaining Grail Knights that remain here, kind of caught in place, and then throw a bit of an Earthblood to pre-heal. And here come Knights of the Lionhearted, coming in to wreck these pigs here. And keep in mind, guys, the stats that you're seeing, you know, flash on the unit cards here are not finalized. This is still, you know, a pretty early access build. So a lot of balance changes, it seems, still have to be implemented. I'm not really sure, to be honest, exactly what is coming, but yeah, just don't take all of these stats that you're seeing flash around with, you know, 100% certainty. But you can see here, we're going to just blob in the infantry, try and keep these guys tied down, and again, just use my cavalry mobility to try and win and draw this game back. GRIMGOR, though, I, again, don't have any good tools for dealing with. He is just going to be an absolute Chad getting in here with his two-handed axe. Gitsnick just absolutely chopping knights left and right. It's really an unfortunate situation for me to be in, but the cavalry pull away here. Again, just going to go after enemy light cavalry, heavy cavalry, whatever, just because the anti-large bonus of the various knights here will be very good, obviously, and controlling mobility will be very important for me as well. You can see after these Spider Riders mostly routed, we then land home a rear charge on these Black Orcs here. Looks like another Gork'll Fix It, probably. Maybe Itchy Nuisance. Yeah, Gork'll Fix It. Definitely good stuff. Gonna kind of force me away there, but the speed debuff, of course, from the poison plus the Gork'll Fix It is significant. But, oh no, look who's caught. This poor paladin. I thought GRIMGOR was going to absolutely delete him. Oh, yep, here he comes. No? Maybe he'll just leave his Black Orcs to do it, which, by the way, the Black Orcs, with their new texture, new properly black armor, do look fantastic, I have to say. Loving the updated textures. And yeah, that paladin's pretty much done for. You can see I'm just pulling away with the other cavalry here, trying to take these isolated trolls. So far, things are not looking great, but I do feel pretty confident if I can kind of isolate Cycle Charge, especially with these few remaining infantry I have. I've got a few meat shields left, but here, I'm sad to say the replay actually desynced slightly. I had a different charge order. I'm not sure. Maybe there was a unit that actually routed here, but we do manage to shatter the trolls. That's all legit. But from here on out, things are going to be slightly different, so I'll just kind of give you a narrative as to what actually happened as it sort of happens, but this is all kind of legit. I charged in, maybe routed some of the Spider Riders. He pulls back with the Death Screepers, and eventually it will come down to just GRIMGOR and the Black Orcs, more or less. These units here are not actually supposed to be here. These Goblins and Durkit Squigs, so you can see some of the desync already starting to happen. Unfortunately, I've had at least half my replays so far in this early access build get desynced, which, you know, it's early access. Not expecting it to be perfect, but this one was close enough that I figured I could show you. Since it's just at the tail end of the game that it gets desynced, the rest of the game is totally legit. And here, what happens, it's somewhat legit as well if you kind of, I don't know, maybe these other goblins were in there. I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure it was just the Black Orcs left at this point. But anyway, we'll kind of fast forward a little bit. GRIMGOR comes in and basically just chads out the whole thing, is how the game ends. Sorry to spoil it for you. I'm able to isolate the Black Orcs and finish them off. But you can see here, yeah, like I have too many units as well. All of my infantry units were gone. This Night Goblin Shaman had also been chased off by the Fanchantress, I believe. Maybe he still will be. Let's see. The Durkit Squigs and these the Death Screepers, yeah, again, just kind of standing there. That's how you can tell often that a replay's been desynced. But anyway, So we come back in here. It looks like the Night Goblin Shaman does not actually rout, but essentially I was just trying to use Favor of the Fae with the companions to try and finish GRIMGOR off once he was isolated, but it wasn't going to be enough. Eventually, you know, we come in on GRIMGOR isolated, and again, all of these units are not supposed to be here, so just ignore them. And, yeah, GRIMGOR just chads it out. He absolutely just chads it out. And previously, like, I would have to compare his stats to a previous build, and again, I don't think those are even finalized necessarily, but just because of his abilities as well, those definitely played a key role here, helping to debuff various characters, slow them down, help get extra damage in. Yeah, GRIMGOR's other ability, that kind of explosion ability, getting him a little bit of extra damage and armor especially, very good against Bretonnia. They don't have the best AP tools in the world, but yeah, you can see it's on the end screen. You can see this replay is unfortunately borked. We don't get to see any of the kill totals or you know, chevron action or anything like that, which is a little bit unfortunate, but very well played to HDS. Still a great game and a great showcase of the new and improved GRIMGOR, some of his abilities at work there, and kind of how he can be used as a total Chad Lord now. I'm not quite as tanky probably as somebody like obviously Vlad or Sigvald, though I will say he will beat the brakes off of Sigvald 1v1. I had a game that got horribly desynced against Loremaster of Sotek where I had GRIMGOR absolutely just demolish Sigvald in about 10 seconds. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was very quickly. And then in the replay, Sigvald actually did not die, and it screwed everything up. Like, it was not even close. So that one, I don't know if I'll end up showing. You might see some B-roll, just because, I mean, I can shoot some B-roll from that at the very least. But, yeah, I do have one more replay to show you guys today. I want to go ahead and get to a replay that is not borked and show you guys the new and improved Azhag as well. And here we are, Azhag the Slaughterer here in the jungle, facing off against the Loremaster of Sotek's Lizardmen. And yeah, I showed you Azhag's abilities in my video the other day, so be sure to check that out again if you haven't. But we've got the Ard armor for the melee defense debuff. I also got the plus 10 melee attack of Slaga's slashes. It's just so good. Get on with it. Also having a leadership component is quite nice. We've got some Wolf Rider archers here. 2 Goblin Big Bosses, and kind of the idea here is armor sundering, right? So we've got Azhag the Slaughterer has Soul Blight, which is a minus 30 armor debuff. The Goblin Big Boss's assassination debuff is they need stabbing. I love that. Minus 30 armor, so I've got 2 casts of those, only usable on characters, but still. We've also got the Rusty Arrows, of course, 2 Error Boys, 3 Savage Orc Biggins, so lots of weapon damage, non-armor piercing weapon damage, but of course, we've got the Armor Sundering, 1 Giant for proper AP, some Goblins up front. As for the Lizardmen, you can see already a Manticore being summoned by the Skink Priest, who's been Spirit Leeched. Crocky G leading the way. You've got some Court of Sotek, Temple Guard. Got Saurus as well. Salamanders out to the flank, Stegodons. You can see the Salamanders exchanging fire, but, I mean, this is Orcs and Goblins, right? We want to see the frontline engagement, and the aimable Fanatics cast down the line here on both sides, doing devastating damage to the front line of the Lizardmen. Yeah, those aimable Fanatics, very, very powerful if you have the micro to pull them off, and just absolutely shredding this engagement, trading very cost effectively into a unit of Saurus there. And now we're ready to spring the trap on Crocky G. You can see we run in with They Need Stabbing, so his melee defense is down to only 16, and the Night Goblin Big Boss also comes in. He doesn't have the best AP stats, but he just is another extra single entity model, right? Down to 65 armor there. We're going to throw Soul Blight in here in just a moment. I was a little bit late to really, truly synergize them, but you can see for a moment Crockard goes down to 35 armor. These Savage Orc Biggins are also wailing on him as well. And you can see the Stegodons also in the effect of this Soul Blight, just getting showered in Orc arrows. Azhag lands here with the Summoned Manticore right behind him, but it is all over for Crockard, basically. That massive gooning attempt with the debuff and the Soul Blight following up, Azhag, the Giant, and the Big Boss just absolutely crumped Crockard there, sending him packing off the field. And likewise, this Stegodon's just getting sheets of Orc arrows right to the face. So already feeling pretty good about my odds. Second Summoned Feral Manticore. Try saying that 5 times fast. Gets here into the back line, but Azhag can charge down utilizing the 80 charge bonus and, you know, other buffs. Azhag's Ard armor, giving him some extra armor, obviously, and melee defense as he fights this Manticore, so that's pretty decent. And, of course, the Orc Air Boys, not complete pushovers in melee. They can kind of help support this engagement as well. Pushing up the hill with my other forces here, you can see the Savage Orc Biggins, Giant, other units just pushing through, trying to get on the Saurus, these Cold One Spear Riders. Krokgar has come back from route. Gonna have a tough time finding an engagement, but yeah, here these Night Goblins Fanatics have done a ton of damage to the Skink cohort already. Should be winning that engagement shortly. Nice Flock of Doom, though. Catches a whole bunch of my Savage Orc Biggins and other units here. Rocky G, though, man, he's just so low already. And a nice cast of those Fanatics. Not the most accurate in the world, but still pretty decent. As these Cold One Spear Riders pull down to try and get into the main line, you can see Azhag drops and actually finishes off poor Crocky G there, so yeah. There's a new boss in town, lads. Not really, but Azhag, I have to say, personally, is my favorite Orc Lord. Just the Crown of Sorcery, the lore of it, the fact that he has access to Lore of Death. He's always been one of the most competitive lords for the Greenskins as well, like always, just because Lore of Death has always been really good. And a mobile, terror-causing flying lord with Lore of Death that's decent in combat. It's just a recipe for success in most situations, so the fact that Azhag has more buffs, I mean, it does make him considerably more expensive, especially if you bring both of these items, but I do think absolutely both of them are worth bringing. In particular, the Slagga Slashes, I mean, plus 10 melee attack has to be one of the most powerful passive buffs in the world, but he is, poor Azhag, getting absolutely roasted here by these Salamander hunting packs who are still hanging around. We've still got some Skink Priests, Lore Beasts as well. So, just going to dive down to the ground, which ends up maybe not being the best idea. Azhag getting absolutely burminated by those salamanders, although my own bows are now starting to return fire here. So that's okay. Maybe Azhag will survive. Certainly the Giant can help finish this thing. Balance of power very well in my favor. As, yeah, we've got this little squad. Goblin Big Boss, other units up on the top here. Kind of just chilling for the time being. Lizardmen have pretty decent leadership, though, especially like with these Skink Skirmishers and the Skink Priest Lore of Beasts left. You can see the last of my light cavalry finally being seen off after having been distracting a good amount of the Lizardmen's force in most of the battle, and obviously that can be very important, especially with those cheap units. Like, even if you just draw enemy forces away, if the enemy forces that you draw away are more expensive than your skirmish force, then you are at a net advantage, right? Because they're not engaging with the rest of the army. So here we can see the Giant coming in. Savage Orc Biggins, they're going to absolutely finish off these few Cold One Spear Riders here. And that will be game as critical army losses kicks in. Able to take home the win. So, yeah, very good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Orc Lord dual cast. I'm going to be having more multiplayer replays coming soon, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully not all of them will be borked, but I have at least a few more that aren't, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But yeah, in terms of a breakdown, absolutely love the Gobbo Big Bosses. I mean, they were already pretty decent before for just, you know, kind of another cheap single entity that's relatively mobile. Not very powerful at all, but it's a single entity. And now with the Assassination debuff, they provide even some extra utility, and I do think that, I have said this previously, and I will continue to say it, with most factions, you want to fill all your hero slots pretty much every time, and that is super true of the Greenskins now. I mean, these guys, I think they're, what, like, depending on the kit, like 500 to 700 points, with the Assassination debuff even, so that's super cost-effective at the end of the day. Even just getting the debuff in on the right target at the right time, but, they're not pushover combatants either. They're definitely pretty decent. Sorry for the rough cut, folks, but I decided to cram this last replay in. This one is a little bit desynced as well, but we can still get a good idea of the strength of this boy here, the Orc Warboss on the Wyvern. Coming in, we're going to be up against HDS's Warriors of Chaos. We're again under the banner of the Azhag's new faction. Black and gold color scheme, I love it quite a bit. The Bone Rattle, as I believe they're called. 3 Spider Rider Archers. This is kind of a variant of my double Giant build, but instead of the second Giant, I've got the Warboss on the Wyvern. We've also got a Gobbo Big Boss for the debuff Orc Shaman, 2 Black Orcs, 8 Peak Loons, and plenty of Gobbos. As for the Warriors of Chaos, Sigvald going to be leading the way. We've got Marauders with great weapons here, the Weird Spawn, a Mirror Guard in the center, lots of Hounds over to the side, Swords of Chaos, and yeah, plenty of Marauder Horsemen. So already you can see I've been doing some very cost-effective skirmish damage with my Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. They trade very well at range with Marauder Horsemen. And likewise, we're kind of breaking up HDS's advance here, kind of getting these Chaos Marauders and various other units separated, torn apart, discombobulated, if you will. But anyway, again, just summoning the spiders here to kind of interrupt the charge as the Black Orcs now charge in against the Mirror Guard here. The Weird Spawn are immediately going to follow up. So we've got a nice pitched melee engagement over on the far side. We're going to be able to terrify away those units very quickly. Orc Warboss had been chewing on some Marauders there, but we want to get the heck out of dodge. Meanwhile, the Chaos Warhounds come in and mass swarm these goblins. We've seen that tactic before, and it definitely works quite well. I've got the Ragnarok Queen in reserve, though. You saw the Fanatics come through from the... Oh, yeah, these guys, the 8-Peak Loons, of course, because they are aimable, I was able to kind of aim it up and throw it down the line here. Did some damage to the Black Orcs, but also did a lot of damage to the the stuff. And look at Sigvald getting absolutely wrecked on here. They need stabbing. The Giant and the Warboss and the Big Boss and everybody, you know, just absolutely wailing on poor Sigvald here. His Metal Sorcerer is going to call down some Searing Doom, try and bail him out of that situation. The Weird Spawn, likewise, you know, they're helping out, doing some okay damage. The Armor Sundering, not super important against the Giant, obviously, but they'll do very good damage to the Trolls. Meanwhile, here, the Spider just kind of keeping these Marauder Horsemen occupied. We're able to swing up and around. I did take quite a bit of damage on my Orc Warboss. He is relatively squishy, but he can do a lot of damage. Of course, I've been using that melee attack buff as well when I flew in to buff all of these power units here. And you can see Sigvald is definitely paying the price. He actually routs here, which in the battle, I believe he did not. And this will cause the replay to screw up a little bit, but it's still going to be mostly accurate. You can see the Orc Shaman here fighting with the support of the 8-Peak Loons, just wrecking these Marauders. As Sigvald kind of routes away here, he is going to be chased off by the Goblin Big Boss and the Orc Warboss, which they came in and tried to finish him, you know, when he was still alive, but this is not exactly how it happened. A bit of a swing and a miss there on that Brain Bursta because of the desync situation, but over here, this Arachnarok Queen is getting pretty badly beat up by the Swords of Chaos. Kind of hard to say exactly what was happening because of the desync, but I do believe the Arachnarok Queen probably went down. But yeah, Sigvald just gets absolutely whomped on here. I believe the Big Boss is actually going to finish him off. We'll see. Regardless, though, Azhag gets back up in the air, or not Azhag, definitely not Azhag. The Orc Warboss gets back up in the air. He's going to try and come around to support some of these various mobile engagements. These Swords of Chaos are kind of the last threat to me left on the field, so we are going to try and get them. Plague of Rust on the Arachnarok Spider as it flees away there, but yeah, again, you can see because of all the units standing around, especially the units that had, like, orders to finish Azhag, what was happening right now is, you know, all the monsters were rushing in, and we had a nice melee attack buff was popping off on the Spider, the Giant, and yeah, we were able to beat the Swords of Chaos with that. You can see it was all still happening at this point in the battlefield, but yeah, the bug, unfortunately, from the desync kind of changing the outcome here, and I'm probably unlikely to win at this point just because the Giant is taking so much damage. These Black Orcs are not fighting who they're supposed to, but yeah, at least the first part of the battle was legit, and basically what happened is I was able to eventually kill Sigvald just a little bit later, and then catch all of these the Swords of Chaos with all my monsters, like I mentioned, with the big melee attack buff all together, and once we finish off the Swords of Chaos, it was more or less over. Pretty unfortunate that the replay desynced, because it was actually a really good battle, like my Bretonnia won, but yeah, it's all good at the end of the day. It happens. Not the biggest deal in the world, and we still might get a similar result here. As you can see, the various units, they do get some of their orders. It's not exactly accurate to what it should be, but like this Goblin Big Boss here might get actually taken out by the Metal Sorcerer, might actually take him out, but this swarm here, the swarm of the Wolf Rider Archers, kind of swarming the Swords of Chaos, that definitely happened, and at that point is the point when I kind of finished them off. But yeah, you can see all of these units just randomly standing around. Sorry, I'll try not to draw too much attention to it. We'll just focus in on the actual battle that's supposed to be happening here, these Black Orcs versus the Swords of Chaos. And yeah, now we come for the actual final pitched engagement where Azhag comes down to the ground, or not Azhag. I've made that mistake twice now, come on. It's the regular Orc Warboss comes down, gets an engagement here, and just imagine if the Giant and the Spider were all together now in this engagement, how badly these Swords of Chaos would be getting crumped. You still do terrify them away, and with these Black Orcs remaining and everything, you get an idea of what the results should be. I don't think it's actually going to go on too much longer, but Yeah, I have to say, it's pretty expensive, but that on-demand melee attack and leadership buff in a mobile, kind of terror-causing unit like this can be very strong. Likewise, he himself has Potion of Strength, and, of course, on a mount like this, that can be quite powerful. In addition, with the melee attack buff, he's also got the Opal Amulet to make himself a little bit more tanky, so I don't know that he'll be the most competitive choice, but he definitely seems a lot more appealing now with the support ability of the, what is it called? Smash 'em harder? Let's double check. Yes. Smash 'em faster. Sorry. Not harder. Faster. But, yeah. We'll go ahead and fast forward through this late game as it's all kinds of messed up. And eventually, we do pull out an actual Pyrrhic victory. So, at least it registered the win for me. Not exactly as how it should have gone down, but yes, we did get it done. Yeah, 106 kills on these Black Orcs, although, again, the kill totals here are not exactly appropriate, but still... having the flying kind of hammer, right? I guess it's almost like the monster and hammer and anvil strategy. And I've talked about this before in the past where, you know, you'd either have like a giant is a great anchor monster because it's pretty slow and pretty powerful. So you have a giant kind of anchoring one point in your line, and then your mobile monsters, spiders are reasonably mobile, but definitely flying mobile monsters like manticores and obviously wyverns are an excellent choice as well. Obviously, something like a Shaggoth too. But anyway, you just hammer and anvil, right? Like the anvil is the big slow monster. The hammer is the fast, good charge monster. So you can kind of isolate various targets and use, all of your single entities in tandem to just mop them up very quickly. So good stuff. I'm really enjoying playing the Greenskins rework so far. I'll be bringing you more footage soon of some of the Gobbo Lords. And of course, that sweet Ragnarok Spider mount. I'm definitely going to be deep diving in on that next time, so stay tuned for that. If you do want to see, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification button. If you found this video informative, entertaining, useful in any way, be sure to give it a share and a like. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.